Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So, boy, this is a doozy. Disgraced evangelical fraud Jerry Falwell Jr., as you most likely know, was forced to resign from his position as the president of Liberty University due to, among other things, a sex scandal involving his wife, and I think it was a pool boy. I mean, apparently Falwell's a bit kinky. He likes to watch. Well, now he's facing scrutiny for something very different. He's facing scrutiny for using the university's funds for political purposes. Now, people may think, what's the big deal? We know that he's obviously very conservative and he's supported Donald Trump. Well, the problem is that Liberty University is a 501c3 nonprofit. Therefore, they're not allowed to take part in political matters. As a 501c3, in fact, the university is strictly forbidden from using the institution's money to fund political campaigns, according to federal tax laws. And they can't promote candidates for a party either. But of course, Falwell ignored those laws because of course he did. And apparently he funneled millions of dollars from the university into Republican causes, as well as directly using that nonprofit money to help promote Donald Trump. So for example, in 2018, Falwell's university donated $2.2 million to the Faith and Freedom Coalition. Another 2018 donation was made to the Heritage Foundation, which, by the way, if you're not familiar, this is the group that's directly responsible for giving Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh their seats on the Supreme Court. Liberty University also donated to Citizens United in 2018. Not only is this organization run by Trump sycophant David Bossie, but Citizens United is directly and solely responsible for the overwhelming amount of corporate money in our political process. The Supreme Court's horrendous decision in that Citizens United case is why corporations are legally allowed to bribe our elected officials in the United States, and why we can't have nice things like Medicare for all or a $15 minimum wage. But Falwell didn't stop with these unethical and potentially, very likely, illegal donations. He even went as far as to create a think tank in 2019 using Liberty University money. So Falwell named it the Falkirk Center due to the fact that he co-founded this shill group with 27-year-old far-right loon Charlie Kirk. But according to Politico, the think tank, quote, has produced no peer-reviewed academic work and bears little relation to study centers at other universities. So what do? They ran pro-Trump and Republican election ads, including one featuring Trump's photo with the caption, quote, "Pray for our president." Then they ran another ad for a GOP candidate. It was this young kid named Madison Cawthorn, who ended up winning a congressional seat in North Carolina. I believe he's one of the youngest people to ever be elected. And in addition to this blatant promotion of the Republican Party and its candidates, the think tank also hired some Trump sycophants to serve as fellows. Among them, and of note, is neo-Nazi-loving former Trump advisor Sebastian Gorka, as well as Trump's current inept attorney, Jenna Ellis. And they've held Falkirk events at Trump International Hotel in DC. I mean, the grift is truly disgusting, and it just goes both ways, doesn't it? I mean, more money in Trump's pocket, but he's such a hero for not taking a salary. I mean, yeah, he made millions and millions and millions of dollars while president, and just because he was president off of all of his grift, but oh gosh, he gave up that $400,000 salary. I'll give it to him. The guy really knows how to manipulate people into thinking that he's doing the right thing. So these Falkirk lunatics have also used their social media presence to promote dangerous, rebellious behavior in regard to COVID. They recently were encouraging their followers to defy stay-at-home orders and the other safety recommendations that have been put in place throughout the country. So on November 19th, specifically, they posted the following message on their Twitter feed, quote, "The government has absolutely no authority to tell you if or how to celebrate Thanksgiving. Defy the petty tyrants and their foolish dictates and go enjoy a time of Thanksgiving with your loved ones." Wow. So much for pro-life, huh? Yeah, tyrants trying to keep you alive. But we want you to go and get COVID. But we're the good guys. So Falkirk also has a podcast, and they've used it to promote Republican candidates and their dangerous ideas. More recently, they used the podcast to disseminate Trump's baseless election fraud claims. They even hosted Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity Giuliani as a guest. And I have to say, some of the comments and ideas they make and promote on the show perfectly sum up. They're perfect examples of why I and so many others have completely turned away from organized religion. I believe in a higher power, but I don't believe that I will ever be a part of a church again or part of organized religion after what I've witnessed in a church, and especially now after I've seen them praising this sociopath in the White House. Here's an example of the kind of stuff they peddle on this show. One of their guests was a man named Ralph Reed. He's a Republican consultant. And he was making the case for Trump's second term. So he told the listeners, quote, "Even if you have reservations or there are things about what Donald Trump says, does, or tweets that you do not like, that's not what this election is about. It's not a personality or popularity contrast. It's which of those competing and contrasting agendas will advance the most good." Yeah, so let's ignore the fact that Trump has been accused of violating almost 50 women, including 3 rape allegations, one of which was allegedly the beating and rape of a 13-year-old child at Epstein's New York mansion. That's apparently advancing the most good. Let's ignore the fact that he literally kidnapped children, even babies, even infants who were still breastfeeding, from their parents for the sole purpose of inflicting pain and suffering on immigrants who were doing nothing other than seeking a better life and fleeing violence. Oh, and then he worked to hide the information that would have helped to reunite those grieving families. That's for the greater good, though. That's for the most good. Let's ignore the fact that he's broken the law more times than I can count, not only prior to becoming president, but while he's been in office during his term. I guess that's for the better good. Ignore the fact that he's refused to pay his debts, something that Republicans claim to care about, personal and fiscal responsibility and all that. Let's ignore the fact that by refusing to pay some of his debts, he caused some small business owners to go bankrupt for no reason. It was just a game to him. He even destroyed a man's life to the point that the man went and committed suicide. That's how much Donald Trump destroyed him. But I guess that's for the better good. You know, let's ignore the fact that he targets people based on their race, their color, their religion. Ignore the fact that he's a complete and total bigot. Let's ignore the fact that his lies and self-serving nature is responsible for the COVID deaths of probably tens of thousands of Americans. That's for the greater good. That's for the good of the country, I guess. Ignore the fact that he is the epitome and poster child for the 7 deadly sins. Ignore all that. Ignore all that because, judges, tax breaks, anti-choice policies that allow us to control women more. That's what's important here. That's the greater good. These people are hypocrites like no other, and they use religion to justify all of it. So they even had a Liberty University professor on earlier this month, and he was encouraging the idea of stealing the election. He was promoting the idea of refusing to hold the Electoral College vote, which just took place, and he was talking about having the Senate overturn the election outcome by voting in opposition to the will of the American people. So this is what religion is all about? I mean, it's no wonder. It's no wonder that they're hard up. It's no wonder they can't attract younger people to religion. They know what's up. They know that this is some hypocritical, do as I say, not as I do bullshit. And even now that Falwell is out, this sham think tank has continued with their partisan political agenda. They just recently hosted pastors and evangelical leaders at the university to talk about next year's election in Virginia. And all of the speakers at the event were Republicans. They had not one single Democrat there. Yet, a university spokesperson had the audacity and gall to make this blatantly false statement when he was asked about it. He said, quote, "These pastors and leaders engage in nonpartisan voter education efforts on issues of importance to evangelical Christian conservatives. The ground game means the nonpartisan strategy for how to communicate and educate the next generation about conservative principles, issues, and policies." He also said that the ad, which read, "Pray for our president," will be a recurring ad that runs regardless of which party holds the office of president. And he claimed that it was a Bible verse. Really? Wow. I had no idea that we had presidents when the Bible was written, or that there was even a United States at that time. I mean, I guess I missed the part about Jesus being a Native American. Oh my God, these people. But anyway, beyond the gross hypocrisy and the obvious failure to actually live up to the word of God, there's an obvious and infuriating aspect to the story having to do with their 501c3 status. Remember, as a nonprofit, Liberty University is exempt from paying income tax on the money they receive. So think about that. If you have Republicans donating large sums of money to Liberty, those Republicans get to write that donation off on their taxes, right? They get the tax break. They write their income down by thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even more, hundreds of thousands that they donate to Liberty University. Then the university doesn't have to pay taxes on that donation, yet they use this mass amount, these hordes of money, which are tax exempt, to run political ads. So it allows their donors, their Republican donors, to work around campaign finance laws too, right? Because campaign finance laws limit the amount that you can legally donate to a candidate. So John Smith, GOP donor, can go donate the maximum, I think it's like, $2,500 or something like that, to their candidate of choice for the year. And then to keep greasing their palm, to keep funneling money to that person, they can just donate to Liberty University. They know that it ends up there anyway. So it affords these GOP donors the ability to effectively funnel hundreds of thousands to their preferred candidates and Republican Party. All the while, they take a nice big fat tax deduction. How is this legal? So we'll see. We'll see if the IRS takes any action now that Biden's administration will be in charge. But, I'm sure conservatives are going to cry foul. They're going to whine about it. They're going to hypocritically claim that they're being targeted for their political views, when that's the whole point. A nonprofit should not have and promote a political view. So, in that way, you're right. You're right. You are being targeted because you shouldn't have a political view, at least not one that you promote and not candidates that you promote and help to get elected. If you want to do that, then drop your 501c3 status and start paying taxes like the rest of us. Anyway, guys, I will let you know if I hear any more. As always, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching and listening. I'll talk with you soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to Plants and Politics. The only way we can take our country and power back is to spread the truth and build an army. So remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again.